Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for coming out to Cues on the Move podcast. My name is Matt Stevens. I am the Corridor 4 Fatherhood Initiative and Mentoring Committee Chairman, and bringing greetings from you tonight from the Ada Pi chapter in East Orange, New Jersey. Tonight, we have a phenomenal podcast that will be working with what we're doing with fathers, and specifically fathers and daughters as it relates to teenage dating abuse. We all love the fraternity. I didn't figure that I would love it so much that I'd be doing it on Valentine's Day, but I have all the love in the world for Omega. So let's try to get started. So Darius, would you bring up our first video?
To engage fathers in interactive discussions that focus on developing strategies to increase parental involvement and improve student achievement.
It's going to be impossible for us to win and for us to change what's going on in our community if we don't focus greater energy and resources on reclaiming fathers and reclaiming men.
When fathers are directly involved in the lives of their children, your children will do better in school.
Give me your cell phone while you're in your home learning center and see, are you willing to take that challenge?
But my father not being present in my life made me promise myself that I was always be amongst my children.
I learned how impactful fathers are when they're there, even when they're not there. And so often we assume that fathers are not as significant as mothers or even grandparents in the lives of young people, but they're essential.
Thank you. That was a video that we shot some years ago with one of our great friends, David Miller and Dale Caldwell, both phenomenal men in the fatherhood industry, working with dads throughout the country. So our focus tonight is to look at how the Omega Psi Phi fraternity is engaging fatherhood, the initiatives, and to spread the word with the majority of guests that we have tonight. So I'd like to start with a really good friend of ours, Eugene Scheedburg. Eugene, are you there?
Hey Matt, I'm here, man. Thank you so much for inviting me on the podcast. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thanks, brother. As indicated, peace and blessings to your lady, man. We know it's Valentine's Day. We want to keep you short, 30 minutes in and out. So I know you have a great book out that you just wrote and you're promoting. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So I released last year my first book. It's called I Never Met My Father, My Journey from Fatherless to Fatherhood. I wrote the book, Matt, because I know firsthand how it feels to grow up without your dad. And I know the questions that I had for the majority of my life about my dad. Where is he? Does he love me? Does he think about me? Why wasn't I important enough for him to look for me and come find me? And the book captures my journey growing up with my single mom in Boston in the late 80s, early 90s, crack epidemic, gangs going wild. My own challenges and insecurities caught up with me during my adolescence. I ended up dropping out of school, getting hospitalized, diagnosed with a mental illness. And it was only by the grace of God that I was able to kind of re-enroll in school, graduate, go on to Boston University, eventually went on to be appointed by President Barack Obama to be the director of the Center for Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships at the U.S. Department of Justice, and had the opportunity to work very closely with the White House Faith-Based Office. And, God has a sense of humor. I ended up serving on President Obama's Fatherhood and Mentoring Initiative. And, so the book is really my effort to encourage those who are growing up without their dads or who have rocky relationships with their dads, that there's hope. I'm now the father of 4. My wife and I are celebrating 20 years of marriage this year. And I just try and give real practical advice and encouragement for fathers who are looking to kind of reconnect with their children, mothers who are working hard to raise children by themselves, and children themselves who have questions and are looking for answers as it relates to their father. So I'm excited to share the book with your viewers, and looking forward to a real robust discussion, Matt.
Oh, without a doubt, man. We are definitely going to be purchasing the book in a number of things we're doing throughout the country. One of the things that we're doing is going to bring it up our next guest, Chris, in the work that we're doing with the church. We believe that, as you know, from your work with the faith-based initiatives, excuse me, that the church is a major function in our community that we need to plug into. This brother I was introduced to from a group we're working with, the National Baptist Convention, and the brother introduced me to Chris and said he's doing some great work in the Inglewood, Bergen County community. So I wanted to bring him on. He is a father, he's a lawyer, and he's a man of God doing a lot of great work in his church. So Chris, welcome, brother.
Welcome, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So with all of the work that you're doing, I know fatherhood is a really important part of the work that you do. So what do you think, if I had to ask you the question, how do fathers make a difference in the lives of children?
Oh, Matt, being a father of a 7-year-old daughter, I believe fathers are very important in their children's lives. We are the example for our children, whether it's your daughter or your son. You know, if it's your son, we're the example for what a man is supposed to be, how a man is supposed to behave, carry himself, responsible. And and raising a daughter, you give her the example of the type of man she should, or type of man she should have in her future. You know, you set that tone early, you set the bar high so that she knows what to expect from a man. I hold many titles. I'm an attorney, esquire, counselor, trustee, but daddy, father is the title that I take the most pride in. You know, I love spending time with my daughter, whether we're having movie night, we're doing homework, or outside, you know, playing with the ball, whatever. You know, I go above and beyond for my daughter, and I believe we as fathers have to be that active role in our children's lives. I'm an attorney, and part of my practice is family law, and I'm noticing that more and more fathers are stepping up in custody, you know, trying to get custody of their children. Back in the days, that wasn't heard of, but now recently, more and more fathers, and statistics will show more and more fathers are stepping up, and that's great to see. You know, a lot of fathers, you know, they just want to, you know, the children usually just go with the mom or whatever, but more and more fathers are getting involved, and I like to see that continue to grow.
Great. Well, all of the work that both of us are doing, really focusing on our children, and we're looking at both our boys and our girls. And we know your daughter's 7 years old. I'm not sure, Eugene, how old are your children?
Yes, so I got 3 boys, 17, 12, and 5, and then my daughter is 15. Got you.
So our next guest that I'm bringing up is doing some work, great work all over the country. She's actually be in the Bahamas, all over the world, really. She'll be in the Bahamas tomorrow doing some work on her focus, which is Love Smart. She teaches young people how to recognize and have healthy relationships. I'm going to let her give a little more about what she's doing. But before I bring her on, I wanted to, Darius, if you could bring up that video.
Amongst teenagers is a problem. Sophia has been dating Todd for a year. He adores her and they spend every moment together. Today in class, Sophia is matched with James to learn a new set of moves for the upcoming school play. When Todd sees Sophia dancing with James, he grabs her by the arm, pushes James to the ground, and yells at both of them. Later that day, Todd apologizes to Sophia, but insists that he felt disrespected by her. What advice would you give Sophia?
Great. Okay, so this is a an insert of a book that I just finished called Make a Decision. And I wrote that specific case study based on the meeting Valarie. Valarie, I met her in Brunswick, Georgia, and she blew my mind with her presentation. We did a group with football players, and she talked to these boys about domestic abuse. And some of the comments that the boys were making, Val, if you remember, I took that experience and made this video based upon that particular experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to bring on Valarie Williams, the president and founder of Love Smart, because while we all love our children, we want to make sure when they get to that age when they're dating, they know what a good relationship is. And I couldn't figure anybody better to bring on to talk about that than my good friend Valarie. So welcome, Val.
Thank you for having me, Matt. Yes, I do remember that workshop we did, that seminar, and how those boys they just couldn't understand that girls are not objects, that we're not each other's object, and we choose to date. We choose to date each other. I do have a nonprofit called Love Smart, and I named it Love Smart because I realized that we are not loving smart. Adults are not loving smart. And so, of course, our children are not going to love smart. And it's not about your feelings. And a lot of people are just loving by feelings, what they feel. And I wanted them to know what the signs are. What does that look like? What does love look like? How healthy, how love can be healthy? What's unhealthy love? Because society now has, especially with social media, is normalized abuse. Abuse is normalized. Now we have more girls. So the number of abuse for boys is going up, believe it or not. We have our college students that are the number one, the age range from 16 to 24, that's high school and 24. They're the number one victims with intimate dating violence. At Love Smart, we started with the colleges, and we now go to actually elementary schools, 4th grade, because we realize the younger we get to them, the more we can educate them and give them the tools. So when they get to middle school, they will know the difference between, oh, I love you, I like you. This is not, no, that's abuse. That's intimidation. You're trying to get me to do something that I don't want to do. Just like in your clip just now, that actually happens at high schools. Our children are going to school, and we think they're going into school and studying and doing their work, and they're just having an awesome day at school. Many of them are stressed out because they are being controlled. Their phone is being checked every period. I met a young lady, every period she has to let her boyfriend look at her phone to see if she's been talking to someone or if someone texts her, every period. So can you imagine her going to class trying to take a test, and she comes back out, she's worrying about, she can't speak to another boy. She can't, if she has to, say, hey, be in the lab together with someone and be partner. It's just pressure, and they don't understand that it's abuse. So at Love Smart, that's what we do. We teach them what to look for. We teach them intimidation. We teach them self-love. We teach them self-esteem. We try to get them to understand, especially our boys, that what rejection is, what to do with that, what to do with your anger, what to do with your emotions, how to manage them. And it is very important that we do that, because if not, it will become the way of life. It will become just what we do. That's just who we are.
Great.
And unhealthy.
Well, Chris, I'm going to bring it back to you. I know you have a little girl. She's 7 years old. And just from a father's perspective, when my daughter's 37 now. So but I can remember 7 years old, sent her to the school. The last thing I would be thinking about is some little boy putting her hands on her in that regard. As a father, how are you handling that now with your daughter?
Well, what I tell my daughter all the time, and she gets tired of me saying this to her, but I always tell my daughter that she can tell me anything. and everything that's going on. And I always tell her, don't let anybody put their hands on you. Don't let anybody touch you inappropriately. If they do, let me know. And I tell her that, like I said, frequently. And I did have an instance where a teacher, when she was, I believe, pre-K 4, where she had an accident at school, and a male teacher changed her, and she told me, and he didn't do anything inappropriate, but because I have been telling her for so long, if anybody touches you, she told me. So I told the school from that point on, I don't want a male changing my daughter. If she needs to be changed, let it be a female, or call me, but don't let a male change her. But because I have been telling her, if anybody touches you inappropriately for so long, that one instance, that made me know that she was listening to me. So that's how I deal with it. I just tell my daughter all the time, you could tell me anything. We have conversations about any and everything. Ever since she could talk, I've been telling her that. And that's how I would deal with it. Just let your children know that they could tell you anything.
Got you. Val, I'm gonna shoot back to you, then shoot right back to Eugene. In the past, we've had a conversation where you talked about how little girls now are pressuring these little boys, and they have unhealthy relationships. I know Eugene has boys, majority boys. Could you talk a little bit about how little girls now, in teenage girls, how they're abusive to these little boys?
They are aggressive. They are so aggressive and mean and hateful. And it's more so that I'm gonna say that 18 to 22 age group. Like, I have 4 young men right now. I think one is 22, one maybe 24, one 27, and one just got 3 of his fingers broke by his girlfriend. And I mean, they are just, when we talk, just vindictive and just so just nasty. And it's all about what you're doing for me, what you're not doing for me, and you could have did this, and if you cared about me. And you can just see the roles are just kind of switching. So it's not, and that's what I tell them all the time, it's not just women and girls being abused anymore. It's men and boys, and those boys, this is the thing, have nobody to talk to, because they don't want anybody to think I'm weak, or I don't want anybody to know that this my girlfriend is doing this to me, and they have no one to talk to. When that happened, I did a live on my Facebook page, and I told the men, I said, hey, look, these young men, you talk to them, y'all see them, some maybe your nephew, if he's dating, just ask a question. Hey man, how's things going? Everything good? Everything good with you and your lady? But nobody is asking these 22 to 32-year-old men nothing. So they're in these situations, and they just, and these are the type of young men that was raised to not hit women and to, be a gentleman. And it's just being taken advantage of. They're being manipulated. And so it has really been something this summer to see that turn of how, I mean, they are so mean and vindictive, and I don't know where that is coming from. I mean, hateful, like slashing tires, and just, I mean, hateful. And we have, and I try to get them to understand, you cannot hit a man and think he's just going to take that punishment and just take that beating from you because you are a girl.
Got you. Well, Chris, Eugene, I wanted to kind of bring you in at this point, because I know, in addition to your personal fatherhood, you have 3 boys. I want to ask you a 2-point question. As a dad, how are you preparing your sons to deal with relationships? And then we'll plug into what you do professionally.
Yeah, so it's a journey. I think my brother Chris mentioned he's been talking to his daughter since she was born. I think I've been similarly trying to reinforced certain principles in my children's life since they were very little. Sometimes they get tired of hearing daddy say the same thing over and over again. But I just believe, the old adage, when you train up a child when they're young, when they're older, they won't depart. And so I just think the more they hear it, and I just think generally, fathers and mothers, but fathers in particular, are so important to train up their daughters, Valarie, as you were saying, like on what's appropriate to how you show up in these relationships and how not to be overly aggressive and manipulative and those things. And similarly with our sons, right? Like my sons constantly are hearing me, you never put your hand on a woman, never. You know what I'm saying? My 15-year-old daughter she's big and strong, beautiful young girl. Sometimes she'll hit her brothers and they'll be like mad, like they want to hit her back. I'm like, nah, like we're going to deal with it another way because you're not going to put your hands on your sister. And I check her too. But I think just the presence of having a caring, involved father in the lives of these boys and these girls makes a huge difference. And I don't say that to take away anything from moms, because their voice and their role and their modeling is so important as well. My wife plays a critical and irreplaceable role in how she models in her behavior for my daughter and for my son. So I just think I'm so excited that Omega Psi Phi, and in particular your work in New Jersey, you guys are really amplifying and elevating this work and helping to equip fathers. And it's just so important that these children have fathers or father figures in their lives as they move forward. And so I'm just excited to be part of the movement with y'all.
Got it. So at that point, I want to switch in. I got 8 minutes left. I just want to give you each 2, and I'll take the last 2. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with fathers professionally, and some of the things that you're doing throughout the country.
Yeah, so I wear a bunch of hats. I work for the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse, or fatherhood.gov. We're a centralized clearinghouse where we push out information all throughout the country to help equip organizations that are working with fathers and families. And then more locally, I run an organization called Fathers Forward. We run fatherhood peer support groups for dads. And as Valarie was saying, actually I have a young dad who's early 20s, and his girlfriend, his child's mother, kind of falls in that category. She kind of manipulates some things. She puts her hands on him and so forth. And so we run these groups every week. Val, I'm so glad you said that. We need to ask these young brothers how they're doing. And in our groups, we talk about, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling afraid? Are you angry? Some of these emotions that men oftentimes have a hard time expressing. In our groups with Fathers Forward, we help these dads understand that it doesn't make you less masculine or less strong just because you cry, or just because you're sad, or just because something makes you afraid, right? That makes you more human. And if you can get in touch with it and you learn how to express it in a healthy way. So that's a little bit about what we're doing nationally and locally. And we're excited about partnering with other folks to convene peer support groups throughout the country, but also to train human service professionals that are working with fathers how to more effectively engage and work with those fathers. And folks can.
How can someone get in contact with you?
Yeah, so our website, I think, is on the screen, IneverMetMyFather.com or FathersForward.com are the 2 ways folks can get in contact with me.
Great. Well, definitely we're going to be getting in contact with you. Chris, I'll go now to you. You're doing a lot of work in your church. You had mentioned earlier that you have something coming up at the end of February. Give you a minute to talk about what's the good work that you're doing at the church, and how can people be involved?
Yes, well, I'm a trustee at my church, Community Baptist Church of Inglewood. And this coming, I believe it's the 4th Sunday in February, we're having Divine Nine Day, where all the Divine Nine fraternities and sororities could come and worship with us. In addition to what I do at the church and what I do legally, I've also recently started a Young Debaters program that's geared towards middle-aged students. And the purpose of the program is to teach them life skills, public speaking, critical thinking, and also gives them an opportunity to see attorneys that look like them.
Nice.
Because I didn't see an attorney that looked like me until I was an adult. So this gives them at the middle school age to see attorneys that look like them. We have a competition coming up June 10th. It's going to be at Rutgers Law School in Newark, New Jersey. We're going to have the kids dress up in their suits and dressed, like they go on the court. Give them little, briefcases. We're going to give them real life cases. Give them, two sides of the argument, two sides to argue. Give them case law, and they're going to present it to. We're going to have lawyers and judges actually judge the competition, and then we're going to have a ceremony. So it's going to be June 10th at Rutgers Law School. So I'm the director of the Young Debaters program here in New Jersey. The program started in New York, and now we're bringing it across the bridge to New Jersey.
Man, that is so exciting, brother. We definitely going to get the boys from East Orange. We have some boys in Newark. We'll be down there supporting you on June 10th, you said, right?
June 10th is the competition, yes.
Got you. That's actually Juneteenth. No, June 19th is June
19th, the following.
Got you. Yep. All right. And last but not least, wanted to give Val an opportunity. She has some phenomenal materials that she has for sale. The one that I really thought was real cool is a book called King Me. Val, talk to us a little bit about your products.
Well, King Me, like Eugene, what you were saying about talking to young men and helping them express themselves. Are you angry, and what do you do with that? I became a victim of domestic violence for 20 minutes because my husband was a person that didn't talk, that didn't express themselves, that held things in, and he ended up shooting me 3 times with a 38 Smith & Wesson, 38 Smith & Wesson, and I was shot actually through the head and twice in my arm. And it was just a 20-minute. He never was abusive, never was verbally abusive. It was just someone who did not know how to deal with his inner turmoil. And so from that, I really, really have a heart for young men. So during COVID, I did this King Me journal. It's an interactive journal that is passed back and forth from the father to the son. And as I said, it could be your godson, and I think I'm going to break one down even for mentors and mentees, because it's so important to have that bond. And so we hosted our first King Me conference in June. And what I did, because I work at the alternative school, there are so many boys that do not have a male figure at all. Or if they do, it's, that's my uncle, my mom's boyfriend or whoever. And so these boys had never gone fishing, never really had a conversation with a real man, never met a lawyer, never met a doctor, never met a fireman, never did anything. And so I went to my community and I put it on Facebook. I was like, look, man, I need you to show up. I need y'all to come and just spend a day. And so we set it up where they ate lunch together. They had to build they had to do an activity, and I wanted to get Legos, but I couldn't afford to have that many Legos. So I came up with marshmallows and toothpicks. And so the men were paired with the boys, and they had to build something with the toothpicks and marshmallows. And I think it was therapeutic to the men because they were so into it. To the boys was like, I thought we were supposed to be doing this together. And after that, we had a King's table, round table, and they talked about different topics, how to treat women, about respect, how to deal with your emotions. It's okay to cry, because so many were saying they had heard that, stop crying, suck it up. What you crying for? Stop being a punk, and even on the football field. And they was like, I don't know what to do with my emotions. Like, I don't know. Do I cry? Do I don't cry? Do I get mad? So all I know is to be mad, to be angry, because that seems to be okay. And so we did that, and we had about 25 men. I even had classmates that drove down from Virginia and came to spend that day with those young men. And we're going to do it again. My son, his dad went to prison. And so I raised him by myself, but I made sure, like you said, being a mom, I did what I could. I tried to be the best parent, but I saw where he lacked. But thank God I had my brother-in-law there to be that male figure and to show him that still this happened to you, but you still are responsible for your actions. And so many other boys do that. We just partnered with the Brunswick Housing Authority here, because I see so many in public housing that they're just there. And we're going in now, Love Smart. We're going to go in one Saturday of the month, and we're going in. We're doing Love Smart. We're feeding them hot dogs. We got men to come out and play basketball with them, but we're still teaching them Love Smart. What do you do with your feelings? You know, how do you have self-control? Are you aware what triggers you and what doesn't trigger you, so that they can start learning how to manage themselves. And so when they get into relationships, it's not somebody else's responsibility to make them happy or to take away the pain and hurt that they're dealing with. Got you. Listen, man, this has been a phenomenal show. We can go another 30 minutes easy, but our time is up. Darius has given me the high sign. I want to make sure that everybody in the audience connects with these three people to bring them out to your events. Right now with Zoom, you can Zoom them in, so you don't have to bring them all the way up sometimes, but they're available to come to wherever you're at to engage you in everything that is available that you're doing. We don't all have the answers. We're working hard towards them, and we're getting a lot of things done. On behalf of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the Fatherhood Initiative and Mentoring Committee, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. I wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. I want to thank especially my wife and everybody else's wife and significant other that gave us the time to be able to share with you tonight. But I got to go. So I'll holler at everybody. Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Eugene,
you guys stay on for just 1 second. Oh, Eugene.